Yo, this is Max Show MMA here. I'm back again with another video. This time I'll be covering the rivalry between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. Also, I'll be giving my prediction on what I think will happen at UFC 305 when the two square off for the middleweight title. I'm excited. It's fight week. It's been a long time coming. These two is finally facing off. Something that everybody been wanting to see for the longest. All MMA fans been wanting to see. I'm excited about it again, like I said. So like, subscribe, and then also comment on the topic at hand as well. And let me know what y'all think. Let's dive right into the rivalry, y'all. So at UFC 285, the post-fight press conference, after DDP TKO Derek Brunson due to strikes, that was the card of Jones versus Gane for the heavyweight title after Ngannou decided to leave the company. DDP has some interesting choice of words and comments as far as the champions, as far as the African champions in regards to Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, and Israel Adesanya. Let's take a listen.
Well, I mean, did those belts ever go to Africa? As far as I know, it came to America and New Zealand. I'm going to take a belt to Africa. I'm the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe the African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. We still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa. That's an African champion, and that's who I'll be.
So basically discredited them as African champions because they no longer live in Africa. He was basically saying, oh, I live in Africa still. I was born here. I train here. I sleep here. This is where I reside. All of that stuff. Y'all left Africa. And I get what he was saying, and I'm not going to even play the race card because I don't think he's racist. But, those guys left Africa to have a better life. Just because you were fortunate enough to have a great life there, that's not the case for everybody else. So just because you was able to have a great life there and be able to train there and grow up there and have great memories, that's not the case for everybody. But that don't make them less African. That don't make them less of who they are. That don't make them come from Africa any less. So, I thought that was shitty on his part, in my honest opinion. That's what ticked Izzy off, and that's what got the rivalry really brewing between the two. So let's fast forward to UFC 287, a few events later. Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya 2. This was the rematch from UFC 281 where Alex Pereira defeated Izzy in the 5th round by TKO. Israel Adesanya will become the first two-time middleweight champion ever in UFC history by knocking out Alex Pereira cold in the 2nd round. So let's fast forward once again to a few events later at UFC 290. This was DDP versus Robert Whittaker, and I'm not going to lie to you. Up to this point, I didn't see anything from DDP where I felt like he had enough to beat Robert Whittaker, but I was wrong. I mean, DDP manhandled Robert Whittaker in the 1st round. Beat him up pretty bad with ground and pound towards the end of the round. I don't think Robert Whittaker ever recovered. They go out for the 2nd round. DDP hit him with a strong jab, knocked Robert Whittaker off balance, and DDP finished him by TKO. It was a very convincing win. And this right here pretty much was set up what everybody thought would finally be the fight between Izzy and DDP for the middleweight championship. But before we even get into them fighting, Izzy and DDP delivered what I thought was probably the most memorable, if not one of, post-fight interviews of all time. Izzy gets in the ring, and you could tell he had a few. I mean, you could definitely tell he had a couple beers, a couple drinks, but he was pretty amped. Got in the octagon during DDP post-fight interview, and let's take a listen.
This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah, what's up?
Get this
gonna do. Yeah, my African brother. Yeah, my African brother. What's up?
I'm African, but I ain't no brother of yours, son.
My let's go. You my real. I'll show you.
So what are you saying to everybody in New Zealand? What are you saying?
Joe, I'll tell you one thing. Yo, I don't need a DNA test. I don't need a 36andMe to know where I'm from. You don't even. If I do a 26andMe, they'll say I'm from Nigeria. Do a 26andMe DNA test. It'll tell you where you're from. I will show you where you're from.
So that was the fight. DDP versus Izzy. That was the fight everybody wanted to see. That was what was next. At UFC 293, it was supposed to finally happen, but unfortunately, DDP had to pull out of that event because he was dealing with a foot injury. So out goes DDP, in comes Sean Strickland. We all know the rest. Strickland upsets Izzy. It wasn't a dominant performance per se, but he clearly won. Izzy did not look like himself. Not taking nothing away from Sean Strickland. He did what he had to do. Izzy needed to take some time off to nurse some injuries. So if we fast forward even more now, this is UFC 297. UFC 297, UFC booked Sean Strickland, who is the now middleweight champion, against DDP. That fight was razor close. In my opinion, I had DDP winning 3-2. A lot of people also had Sean winning 3-2. You could go either way. Depends on how you look at it. Me personally, like I said, I had DDP 3-2. Now, to DDP credit, DDP acknowledged Israel Adesanya a few times after winning the belt and mentioned the possibility of fighting Israel Adesanya next. UFC obliged, and UFC was able to book DDP versus Izzy for UFC 305. And that pretty much lands us where we at now. As all of you know by now, I would think DDP and Izzy had an early press conference. This was a couple weeks back. And they had a back and forth once again about the African king and the African champion comment that DDP made. Let's take a listen.
He tried to discredit the three kings and say that he's the real true African champion. And I was just like, it's a weird mindset, bro. Like, he came in the UFC. I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the fuck's this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, he's another African in the UFC. But then him discrediting me, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, that ticked me off a little bit. So that's what started this.
Never discredited anybody, stating facts. Where do I reside? What's my postal code? Where do I train? Where do I live? Where was I born? In South Africa, still there, still training, and I won this belt from South Africa. I didn't travel anywhere else. That was the only thing that I stated.
I don't really give a fuck where he's from, but I'll show him who he is.
Yeah, whatever that means. I'm glad you took up golf because, you know, that's a retirement sport. I can understand you start playing golf.
Hey, man, you do what you have to do in your own time.
So once again, y'all hear it. He does it once again, basically discrediting those guys because they don't still live in Africa. And that may be truly how he feel. I'm pretty sure DDP truly feel like that. But he's wrong, in my opinion. But hey, who am I? He's basically saying, again, he's still there, that he resides there, he trained there, eat there, shit there, or whatever he want to say. And so, again, he's sticking by that. He is sticking by that. And I think, you know, this is fight week. You got a lot more interviews to go this week. You also got the pre-fight press conference, which is this Thursday. I'm expecting some more back and forth. I'm expecting it to get a little bit more heated as the week goes on. And the reason I expect it to get heated as the fight gets closer is because Izzy just did an interview a few hours ago with TMZ Sports, and he had some remarks about DDP in regards to his African champion comments. Once again, let's take a listen.
But he's a bitch for what he said. He's a bitch because Drickus is saying, I train in Africa, I do this in Africa. And then people like Razak and myself who are forced to flee our own country because of, you know, a better opportunity.
Yeah.
He can't even, he'll never understand that because he lives behind the fucking gates of his privileged life in South Africa. And he's able to do that there. So someone like Francis who had to cross the desert to go overseas to go train. If you know Francis' story, you can't call him not a real African champion because he didn't train in Africa. It's like, bro, are you fucking kidding? The guy got sent back out to the desert 6-7 times to go die, and he survived. You know, like the things he said, and even without Francis being champion, without myself being champion, without Kamaru being champion, he would have never been champion. We paved the way for him, and then he comes out there and tries to take it off for himself. I wonder where he got that from. What kind of mindset is that? Like, oh, I see this and I want it all for myself. Like, oh, look at this beautiful land. Look at this. I want it all for myself. What kind of mindset is that? What kind of mindset is it that you see 3 African champions and you're going to be the 4th one? You could have said, you know, it'd be a great honor to be part of the legends of African champions that have been in the UFC. He tries to say, take it all for himself. That's a colonialist mindset, and he doesn't understand the error of his ways. But I will show him the way.
Man, Izzy was pissed. Like, DDP got Izzy fucked up with those comments. And like I said, DDP has a right to feel the way he feel, but Izzy has even more right to feel the way he feels. And like I said, I believe Izzy is ultra focused. He really wanna beat the fuck out of DDP for those comments. All right, now these are my predictions for the main event at UFC 305. The middleweight champion Dracus du Plessis against Israel Adesanya. Look, man, let me talk to y'all. I believe DDP has been the underdog in all of his UFC fights, I want to say, and he's undefeated. So he's defied the odds time and time again. And I would not be shocked at all if DDP was to pull this out because he got heart, he's got determination, he's strong, has good cardio at times, and he's a dog, man. He's a dog, and he's young. What, he's about 30, 31. Izzy's 36 now, 35, 36. So Izzy needs this fight, in my opinion. Izzy needs this fight bad because I don't know where Izzy goes from here. If Izzy loses this fight against DDP, this would be his third loss in 4 fights. Just think about that. So I don't know where he goes from here. Even though I still think there's some good fights out there, but we're used to Izzy being on this high level. And I believe he is still on a high level. And that's why I'm picking Israel Adesanya to win this fight by 3rd round TKO. The thing is about DDP is this. DDP, and what Connor say?
He's a stocky, stuffed wrestler with an overhand. That's it.
Stocky stuff wrestler with an overhand. That's essentially what DDP is. Not to take away from his skill set, but when you wrap it all up, that's basically what he is. And what else Connor say?
I've been whooping his style. I've been whooping that style a long, long time.
Exactly. Izzy been whooping that fucking style a long time. A long time. The thing is with DDP, with his stand-up is, DDP only does damage from either mid-range or close range. So that tells you he has to get in the danger zone with Izzy. He has to get in the danger zone because he cannot fight from the outside because Izzy is going to pick him apart. We seen what Sean Strickland jab did to him. Izzy has a great jab as well. Izzy has one of the best jabs in MMA. And DDP, he's going to have to use his wrestling. I don't think he can to the degree he probably would like because DDP had his thing where he can't keep guys on the ground. DDP cannot keep guys on the ground. He takes them down, but they always get back up. Even if you look at the Darren Till fight, I know that was some years ago. Darren Till has some of the worst takedown defense. Darren Till has some of the worst wrestling. And even Darren Till kept working his way back up, from DDP. Even in the last fight with DDP and Strickland, he took Strickland down, but he couldn't keep him there. And nobody up to this point at middleweight has shown the ability to take Israel Adesanya down and keep him there. Nobody keep Izzy down. Nobody. The only time we've seen Izzy beat with the wrestling is when he went up a few years ago to try to become a champ, when he went up to light heavyweight and fought Jan Blachowicz, and Jan laid on him the last 2 fucking rounds. And Jan had to have at least 25 pounds on Izzy. So that's the only time we've seen Izzy taken down and be kept there. DDP wrestling, his skill set doesn't allow him to take guys down and keep them there. He doesn't have that type of wrestling. And I think it'll be no different at UFC 305. I think he's going to be forced to stand with Izzy. DDP has this thing where he does these blitzes. It's almost like Robert Whittaker-esque, right? He does these blitzes where he just kind of come forward. And sometimes he even dips his head like to the left and throws these right overhands. Again, stocky stuff wrestler with an overhand. And again, I like DDP. I like DDP a lot. I love his attitude. I love his maturity. He is a great fighter. But I just think this is a hill too far to climb, in my opinion. And I think Izzy is going to pick him apart. I think Izzy is going to keep his distance. I think DDP is going to start to get desperate at some point in this fight because he's going to be getting picked apart. I think DDP is going to get desperate. He's going to start lunging in. He's going to start, blitzing. And I think Izzy is going to find a shot. I don't know if it's going to be a knee. I don't know if it's going to be a left hook. I don't know if it's going to be a body. It's going to be something. But I think DDP is going to. I think he's going to get desperate. He's going to run into something. And I think Izzy is going to hurt him. I think he's going to hurt him bad. And I think Izzy is going to get him out of there in the 3rd round. Again, DDP does have ways to win, though. Obviously, he's very awkward, right? He's very awkward. If you can keep Izzy guessing, there is a path to victory, especially in the wrestling scrambles, right? Izzy has a bad habit of giving up his back. he risks giving up his back to get back up to his feet whenever he does get taken down. And I think if Drakus can mix in some takedowns and during a wrestling exchange or like during a scramble, he can get Izzy's back and get him synced in for like a rear naked choke. That's something that's very possible. Again, I haven't seen anybody do that to Izzy yet. Izzy is pretty good with his submission defense. So that's possible, but I don't see that happening. Again, I got Izzy by third round TKO. I think DDP may have his moments here and there, but I think Izzy is going to be sharp. He's going to be sharp on the night. He's going to pick DDP apart, and he'll finish him. He'll get him out of there. And Izzy will be, once again, and he'll be a 3-time middleweight champion. And believe it or not, I don't know if I mentioned this, but again, this is Izzy 12th straight UFC title fight. 12th straight. Been there, done that, and with the time off, it'll be a year since he's been in the octagon. I think that really worked out for him. I think that helped him out a lot. Got him time to clear his head. He had time to deal with some injuries, and I think it's just gonna be one of those nights for Izzy where he just be on point and he get it done. So that's my prediction for UFC 305. Y'all go in the comments. Let me know what y'all think as well on how y'all think the fight will go. Again, this is Max Show MMA. Like, subscribe. There will be more videos to come. Till next time, peace.